Hi, welcome to Myers ASMR. I hope you're well. It's always good to see you. I was thinking about you. Do you need for conditions to change in order to feel good? Do you need for conditions to change in order to feel good? And how's that working out for you? I just love Christmas spiced tea. I drink it all year round. Well, let's get straight into the wonderful story. Tatham Mound by the great Piers Anthony. I just love good writing. My parents used to take us to Barnes and Nobles for our Saturday entertainment because they didn't have to buy anything. So that was a cheap way of taking the whole family out. And we loved it. Okay, so we're picking up with the story where the three boys had just raided the other tribe. And Hotfoot was hiding, he's injured, and he was trying to avoid detection. So he was hiding underneath a bush, waiting for someone to pass. It worked. The Kale warriors paused only to inspect the blood at the spot where the three had stopped, then charged on after the drops Woodpecker had planted. But Hotfoot knew he had to move on because it would not take long for the Kale to realize that they now pursued only two, and that the blood had stopped. They could come back, rechecking the trail, and then they would find the offshoot. They would be after Hotfoot, and he could not outrun them. Indeed, he could hardly run at all now. He hauled himself to his feet and almost collapsed. He staggered on, away from the direction of the other path. He knew he would have to stop soon. He was defenseless, for he had lost his bow and arrows in the chase. Where could he go? Where he would not be followed? Here. He gazed blearily about, trying to identify what he had heard. Who had called? Had he really heard anything? Then he realized that he was close to the ancient holy place, where youths like him never went. The spirits of the dead were here, guarding their burial ground. There would be terrible retribution against almost any living person who defiled this site. Only a priest could come here. Yet, he had heard a call. Where could it have come from, except here? Was he about to die, and the spirits knew this? But he was a bare stripling, a boy, not worthy to share their habitat. They should have only contempt for him. No, he was now a man. He had made his first kill and received his first serious wound. If he died of it, he died a man, even though he had not yet been awarded a man's name. The spirits would know that. They did not make mistakes. They knew who was worthy and who was not. He staggered on towards the low mound, knowing where it was. The scene seemed to be tilting crazily, and the trees were whirling around him, but somehow he kept his feet until the sacred hill was there. It was not high, only up to his belly, but it spread out widely. It was just a small rise overgrown with brush and small trees, undisturbed. But everyone knew what it was. No one ever confused a burial site. Hotfoot felt his consciousness fading. "O spirit of the mound," he gasped, "I come to you as a supplicant. Accept." Then he fell, his invocation unfinished. He lay sprawled on the mound, the light of the day dimming in his awareness. Hotfoot never moved, but somehow he saw a man was standing over him, looking down at his still form. "Who are you?" Hotfoot asked without speaking. "Do you address your elders thus?" the man demanded in the same manner. Then Hotfoot knew that this was no mortal man. "I abase myself," he said. "O spirit of the mound, I apologize abjectly for this intrusion and beg your indulgence, for I cannot rouse my body. I am Hotfoot, a boy of the Eagle clan of Tokoatafi." "A boy? Do not seek to deceive me thus. You have made your first kill." "It was only in desperation. I take no joy in it. I am sickened. I wish I had missed. I am no warrior." The spirit considered. "You judge yourself too harshly. No sensible man truly joys in killing. He does it because he must, as you did. You are a man. You will assume the title of a warrior and be a credit to the Eagle clan." "O honored spirit, I think not, for I am dying. But if it is enough for you to accept me here, then I shall be satisfied." "I am Dead Eagle, chief spirit of this mound," the man said. "I am of the Eagle clan and your ancestor. I do not accept you here, for you must not yet die." Hotfoot received this news with confusion. "You are of my clan, but you refuse to let me be here?" "I will accept you here only when your mission is complete." "My mission?" Dead Eagle nodded. Hotfoot saw this through his face, though his face was to the ground. "There is a terrible danger coming. You must warn the living and seek the means to avoid it. Only when you succeed in this may you join us here." "O spirit, what danger is this?" "I do not know its nature, for I can foresee only imperfectly with the quartz crystal. The threat is too great and distant for such magic. It can only be accurately seen with the most potent crystal of all, the Ulun Suti, the great blazing transparent diamond on the forehead of the Uktena." "The Uktena!" Hotfoot cried, appalled. "The terrible snake!" "The same," Dead Eagle agreed. "You must go to the monster and take the crystal, and use the crystal to see the exact nature of the threat. Then you will be able to warn your tribe, which is our tribe too, and to devise some stratagem to counter it. Then you may die and join us here." "It is too much," Hotfoot protested. "I am only a stripling. I am afraid. It is beyond my power. I am a coward. Even to see the Uktana as it sleeps is death to a hunter's family. It is almost impossible to wound the monster, and only a great hero can kill it and take the Ulunsuti, I would be terrified and flee, shaming myself and my tribe, accomplishing nothing. Dead Eagle's visage clouded. Make no excuses, warrior. You are of the Eagle clan. I put my mark on you, and I take from you your fear. Never while you live will you experience it. Accept the mission and do not return until it is done. He reached down, and his hand pressed through Hotfoot's injured shoulder. Abruptly, the fear was gone. I accept the mission, O Spirit, Hotfoot said. I will not dishonor you. Then his consciousness faded again. I have to take my herb capsule because that's what I do. I do. I can't even remember what this is. Maybe it's burdock or neem. Oh man, this tea. Hey, I would love some tea sponsorships. I will gladly tout your brand on my channel. Chapter 2, Trader, spelled Trader. O Spirit of the Mound, I have told you of the stripling Hotfoot who came to you so long ago, whose fear you took, and to whom you gave the quest for the Ulunsuti. Now I will tell how he started that quest and how the proof was made of his loss of fear, and of the girl he met, who was to change his life. Already your wisdom was manifesting, O Spirit. He woke again within his own lodge. He recognized the individual smell of it immediately. He was on a raised pallet of pine needles, his head on a cushion of moss. The heat of the small cooking fire warmed his right side, and the aromas of the smoke in the pot were comforting. As he stirred, his mother heard and came immediately. Do you know me, my son? She asked, her voice anxious. I know you, my mother, he said weakly. For a moment she just held his hand and gazed at him. But he felt the emotion in her and knew that his survival had been uncertain. He could guess what had happened. The other boys had returned to the village and told of his injury, and warriors had come to search for him and had traced his trail to the mound. They had carried him back, but he must have seemed dead, for he had no awareness of anything between his communion with Dead Eagle and this moment. The Spirit of the Mound had saved his life for the sake of the mission, otherwise he surely would have died. His mother fed him soup and acorn bread, and his strength returned. The priest came to the lodge and was pleased to see that his curative dance had worked. Hotfoot did not have the heart to tell him that his recovery owed more to Dead Eagle than to the dance, for the decision had been made before his body had recovered. Woodpecker and Alligator came, explaining that they had been unable to double back because of the pursuit, but that they had been successful in leading the Kale war party so far afield that Hotfoot had been forgotten. Then the Atafi warriors had emerged, and it had been the Kale's turn to retreat. And we told of your heroism, Woodpecker said eagerly, how you slew that warrior with a single arrow through the throat. As with the priest, he lacked the will to tell them that he took no pride in the shot. He confirmed their own heroism, bearing witness to the manly deeds they had done, especially in leading the Kale away from him. There seemed no point in telling about the protection the spirit of the mound had given him, as that would only diminish their accomplishment. He was glad enough to be alive. But there were two things that remained from the experience that changed his life in ways that none of them had anticipated. The first was immediate and obvious. His left arm no longer functioned fully. His uncle of the Eagle clan had drawn out the arrowhead and stanched the bleeding, but the damage had been done. The pain gradually subsided, but his shoulder was immobile. He could still flex his elbow and his hand worked perfectly, but his upper arm was locked against his side. It was no longer possible for him to use a bow or to do anything that required the extending of that arm. The spirit of the Kale warrior he had killed had achieved its vengeance by destroying his ability ever to kill again with that weapon. The second was the mission that Dead Eagle had given him. He had to find the Ulunsuti, the great transparent crystal. He had to use it to avert the terrible danger to the tribe, but he had no notion of how to go about such a quest. This question preyed on his mind during his physical recovery. What was he to do? So it was that when he was able to go about again and to function as before, except for his arm, he sought the priest. "I am to be a warrior now, but I have no stomach for it," he confessed. "I never want to kill another man, and I have a mission whose pursuit baffles me. I need your counsel." The priest stared at him and threw him in the disconcerting way he had. "You met with the spirit of the mound," he said. Hotfoot was startled. "How do you know that?" "How could I not know? The mark of the dead is on you." "What mark?" The priest tapped him on the shoulder just beyond the healing scar of his wound. "This mark, in the shape of a ragged eagle. Did you not know?" Hotfoot was startled again. "I did not know. I thought it was only a scar." He twisted his neck to look, but could not get a clear view. Yet now he remembered Dead Eagle had said that he put his mark on Hotfoot when he took his fear. "The mark of the dead," the priest repeated. "And you would be dead too if the spirit had not accepted you. No man could spend the night at the holy site and live otherwise." Hotfoot realized that it was true. He had defiled a holy place, and instead of being struck dead, he had been saved. "The spirit Dead Eagle spoke to me and gave me a mission. I am forbidden to return until it is done, but I do not know how to do it." "And what did the spirit take from you?" the priest asked cannily. "Take from me? He gave me back my life." "What a spirit takes is always equivalent to what it gives. Dead Eagle gave you life. What did he take? That will suggest how you should proceed." Hotfoot was flustered. "He took nothing. He only gave me my life and the mission and said I should not return until it is done. I accepted, and now I must do it." The priest considered. "What was the mission?" "He said there is a terrible danger coming, and that I should warn the living and seek the means to avoid it. It can only be seen accurately with the Ulunsuti." "The great transparent crystal!" the priest exclaimed. "No one can find that. The monster snake would kill anyone who tried." "I told him that. I said I was afraid, but he said he would take my fear." Hotfoot broke off, startled. "Dead Eagle took your fear?" "Yes. He said I would experience it no more while I lived, but—" "So you are not afraid to seek the Uktena?" "Well, not afraid, but I have no idea how." "Truly, he means you to accomplish this mission. Only the bravest of men would dare undertake such a thing, knowing he will very, very likely die without success." "But I am not brave. I never want to kill again." "And you with only one arm," the priest shook his head. "The spirits have little regard for mortal weakness." "I was a fool to accept it," Hotfoot said, "but when he took my fear, I had no caution." When a spirit commands, no mortal man denies, the priest said. Now it is clear. You will assume your warrior's name and go on your mission. You must travel until you find the Ulum Suti and bring it back and use it to see the danger. But where should I search for it? No mortal man knows, but perhaps the spirits know. You must seek the places of the dead, the sacred mounds, and consult with them. This does not frighten you? I do not wish to profane the sacred places, Hotfoot protested. You fear to? I have no fear, only proper respect. Then you have only to ask permission for the intrusion. If you truly have no fear, they will grant it, and perhaps will help you if you tell them who sent you. Hotfoot brightened. They will honor Dead Eagle's mission? Surely they will. The spirits know their own. If they do not, show them your mark. Then this is what I shall do. I thank you, priest, for this good counsel. I could do no less, for one the spirits have honored. But he looked doubtful about the nature of the honor. Next day, they had the ceremony of manhood for the 3 youths. They had spent the night secluded from the village, remaining alert after purifying themselves with deep draughts of the white drink and vomiting. Now they stood forth in turn as the elders spoke of their deeds and presented them with their adult names. Woodpecker became striker of warriors because of his first shot at the kale. Alligator became deceiver of enemies because of his clever ruse with the blood, leading the enemy away from his wounded companion. And Hotfoot became throat shot because of his single kill. This was so dramatic a deed that it needed no qualification. Now the village turned to celebration with feasting and dancing and congratulations all around. The 3 were men now and could participate in the duties and privileges of men, including the council deliberations and the smoking of the village pipe. On this day, Throat Shot's dead arm was a badge of honor instead of a liability. It was a serious injury taken in battle, but privately he wished that he had not experienced either the killing or the injury. The one had wounded his self-esteem as much as the other had wounded his body. That night a maiden came to him in his corner of the barracks lodge used by unmarried males. It was Dear Eyes, whose eyes were indeed great and dark. He had always found her attractive, but as a boy had been entitled to no sexual privileges. Now he was a man, and she had come to complete his initiation. She smelled of honey, but the memory of the killing he had done was on him, and of the loss of the use of his arm, and he was aware that he would soon be leaving the tribe. He felt ashamed and unworthy. Dear Eyes was a nice girl. She could do better and perhaps share her favors with a warrior who might in due course marry her. Throat Shot could not. He would be gone from the tribe a long time. He doubted that it was right to do this with her. He tried to explain this. She was surprised and angry. You say you are too good for me? She demanded. No, I am beneath your notice, he explained. You were waiting for some other girl? Her mixed outrage and injured pride were manifest. No, no other girl. I have always wanted you. But look at me. He touched his slack left arm with his right hand. Or for a man, perhaps. This was worse yet. There were men who wore women's clothes and lived in the way of women. He was definitely not one of them. No, no man. I want you, but I am unworthy. She gazed at him for a moment, and he knew that if she simply refused to go and lay down with him, he would forget his unworthiness and do what he desired. But then she turned away in disgust, and his chance was gone. He had managed to misplay this most important occasion and generate only misunderstanding and anger. Why had he even opened his mouth? No maiden came to him the following nights. The word had gotten around. They thought him less than a man now, and not because of his arm. Steeped in the shame of their belief, he slept alone. It was indeed best that he depart this tribe. He had won his honor as a warrior, only to lose it as a man. At the next council meeting, he spoke of his mission. The warriors nodded. He had been visited by a spirit and had to do as that spirit directed. They all saw the twisted eagle mark on his shoulder. He must go in search of the Ulun Suti so that the terrible danger might be discovered and averted. It was a worthy mission, especially it was left unsaid for one who could no longer effectively fight or hunt. His absence would cause the tribe no significant loss. The trader came down the Little Big River in his canoe. His hair was tied back in a roll, through which were struck two bones, which were sharpened at the ends like arrowheads. He was of the Ice tribe, far to the east, but he was known to all the other tribes of the region, and none offered him harm. This was because he brought marvelous items for trade and took the more common local items in exchange. The women especially eagerly awaited his arrival. He did not speak the Togo tongue. On other trips, he had an assistant who translated during the bargaining. Evidently something had happened, but they knew him and sign language was enough for this purpose. They could see what he had and show him what was here for trade. This time he brought fine feather cloaks and small dishes made of copper, that strange and wonderful stone that was so unlike clay pottery. But copper was precious, and all they had was chert for arrowheads. The trader looked at them with scorn. He had fine flint already. But the chief was clever. I note you have no front paddler for your canoe, no carrier for portage, he said via sign language, pointing to the empty place in the canoe and making a gesture as of paddling, then of carrying. We will trade the services of a man for that all the way back to your home for 6 of these feather cloaks. He pointed to a heavy-set warrior and to the cloaks. The trader was outraged. These are the best cloaks in the mortal realm. See their fine craftsmanship. I had to pay dearly for each one. His gestures indicated the cloaks, and he picked one up to spread it out and show its qualities. Every feather had been split at the base of the quill and turned back in a loop so that it could be firmly fastened to the material. Why should I let any go for the sake of another mouth to feed? His glance at the warrior, who had obviously eaten well, was disdainful. No one wanted an appetite like that along. The chief pondered. Then an interpreter, a man good at speaking, he made the gesture to his mouth, who will facilitate your bargaining and also help portage. Now the trader was interested. A slave? He made the signal of subservience. The chief shook his head in negation. No slave, a warrior. To translate and portage. The trader nodded. 1 cloak. Now it was the chief's turn to laugh, and the warriors laughed with him. 3 cloaks. 2. The chief sighed. He had never been able to best the trader in deal-making. 2, he agreed. Show me the man. The chief beckoned, throat shot. He stepped forward. A mere stripling, the trader protested. A child. He made a gesture as of patting a toddler on the head. A man, the chief insisted. He killed a Kale warrior with one arrow through the throat. He jammed at his own throat with the point of an arrow. The traitor gazed at Throat Shot with increasing respect. He is that one. They spoke of him there. He was talking as he made the signals, and Throat Shot, who had been listening intently all along, was beginning to pick up the words. He remembered some he had learned from the traitor's prior visits, and was beginning to get a feel for the tongue. There were points of similarity between the ice speech and the Kale, and the man was echoing his words with sign language so that anyone could follow his gist. They came after him, the chief said. They shot him in the shoulder. Now he put his hand on Throat Shot and turned him so that his scarred tissue showed. He can no longer fight, but he can speak. The traitor was quick to pick up on the arm injury. How can he paddle? How can he portage? This is no good. I can paddle, Throat Shot said in the traitor's tongue. The man, amazed to hear the words, watched as Throat Shot got into the canoe, lifted the paddle with his right hand, bent his left arm at the elbow and caught it with his left hand. Then he moved the paddle in the air in a vigorous paddling motion, his right arm doing most of the work. It was relatively clumsy, but he could do it. I can carry too, my legs are good. He had to demonstrate for the legs because he had not yet picked up that word. What tongues do you speak? Kale, Tokal, Kalusan, Ice. If you teach me, I learn quickly. Words and gestures made that clear. You learned this much of Ice just by listening now? This time the traitor's hands were still. He was deliberately avoiding sign language so that only the speech counted. Throat Shot caught his meaning as much by his attitude as by his words. He repeated them, changing only the first. I learned this much of Ice just by listening now. You will serve me loyally while you travel with me? The traitor asked in bad Kale. No stealing, no cheating? I am a warrior, Throat Shot replied in good Kale. I do not steal or cheat. I will serve you loyally. The traitor lifted 2 feather cloaks and gave them to the chief. It was done. The traitor spent the night at the village, enjoying the hospitality now that the business had been completed. No one bothered his loaded canoe. It was a matter of honor to safeguard such things. Once hospitality was extended, and of course everyone in the village wanted him to come again. He sat with them by the evening fire and told of his recent experiences in his stumbling Kale, and Throat Shot translated to Toko, already serving in the agreed capacity. Everyone loved to hear of far places and events. Naturally, a maiden visited the traitor in the evening, completing the hospitality. It was Dear Eyes. She made sure Throat Shot knew. He tried to show no emotion, but he felt it. She was wasting herself on a man she might never see again for the sake of some trinket he might give her. She could as readily have wasted herself on Throat Shot. He had been a fool. Yet he had done what he thought was right. All he could do now was to learn from the experience and make sure he was never again such a fool. Dead Eagle had taken his fear, but his other emotions remained, and shame was the one that ruled him now. In the morning, they started off down the river. Throat Shot took the front, paddling only on the left side, but he paddled well. He had worked at this, adapting his technique so that he could travel by canoe alone if he had to, and it was easier with another. He was prepared for a long journey, for he did not know when he would return. His pack contained parched acorn flour to make bread in case he could not find other food. A fish hook he had carved himself from a long hollow bird bone. After ruining 3 prior bones, a root digger stick, his stone knife, 3 stone spear points, a length of fiber cord, and a small firepot whose punk buried in ash hardly smoked at all. With these he could do well enough when he had to. I gotta take a sip. That was spirulina. But soon after they were beyond the village, the trader called a halt. They let the canoe drift in the slow current. "Turn about," the trader said. "Face me." Toko, a Tafe warrior, throat shot, shipped his paddle and turned, careful not to rock the canoe. It continued to move, drifting with the will of the spirit of the river. What did the man want? "You agreed to serve me," the trader said. The words were becoming more familiar with repetition. Also, he had picked up a number during the evening when the trader had to hunt for kale terms he did not know. He had expressed the concepts in Ais, and Throatshot had offered words in kale until the right one was found. Then Throatshot knew the equivalent Ais word too. "Yes." "Then you must know my language better before we reach the next village." Throatshot was happy to learn that the trader named every item that he had to trade, and Throatshot repeated each name, getting it straight. He knew now that another person could not have done this. There were many terms, and he had to concentrate to fix them in his mind. Then the trader covered key concepts, and a number of these related to terms Throatshot already knew, so it was easier. The syntax of Ais was similar to that of Toko. Once he had the words, the statements settled into place. "It is good," the trader said at last. It was a fair trade. By that he meant that he believed he had gotten the best of it, because an apt translator was more valuable than 2 feather cloaks. "Yes," Throatshot said in Ais, still practicing to make it seem natural. But the trader was no fool. "Then why did Chief Atafi think he had done better?" he demanded. Throatshot, caught by surprise, did not answer. "Remember, you promised to serve me," the trader repeated. "The trade was made. It is done. Now you must tell me the truth. I will not be angry. I just want to know." "I was going to travel," Throatshot said. "I have a mission. I did not want to travel alone." The trader slapped his knee. "So I could have charged to take you. The chief made me pay to do him a favor." He was using the sign language again, helping Throatshot to pick up the words. "I will serve as agreed," Throatshot said somewhat stiffly, still augmenting his own words with signs to cover concepts he did not yet know in Ais. "All the way to your home. We did not cheat you." The trader laughed. "No, you did not cheat me. No one cheats me. I am too clever. I knew there was a reason for you to go, but I did not know what the reason was. I feared it was to betray me to thieves." "I gave you my word," Throatshot said, annoyed. "Yes, you did. And you did not lie. I know, I can tell. But Chief Atafi thought he was getting the better of me, and I had to know why. If he told an ambush party to watch for a warrior with one arm, he would not. That would be an act of treachery. I did not think he would. I have dealt with him before, and he has never betrayed me. But this time there was something hidden. He thought he was being clever, and I had to find out why. It is a cruel world, young warrior. A traveling man has to be alert. Not every person I meet is honorable." Throatshot nodded. "I have heard of dishonor, but never here." I will teach you how to spot it if you wish to learn. It will help you serve me better. I will show you the signals of a man who is lying. I would be most pleased to learn that, Throatshot said, but surely they are not like the sign language I know. Surely they are not, the trader agreed with another laugh. They are made with the eyes, the mouth, the body, and the liar does not know he is making them. You are clever and you are honest. I will teach you what I would not teach another. Throatshot was inordinately pleased by this compliment. He tried to conceal this, but could tell from the trader's smile that he was failing. He was in effect trying to lie and could not. But I would like to know the nature of your mission, the trader said. Why must you travel? Is it to find a cure for your sick arm? I must seek the Ulan Suti, Throatshot said. Only that powerful crystal can enable me to save my village from great harm. And he told the interested trader the whole story using Kale terms when he lacked Ai's terms. The trader stared into the water. You know that even the bravest warrior, with both arms and the finest weapons, would fear to approach the Uktana, for it is almost certain death. How can you, with one arm, dare to do this? I have no fear of the Uktana, only a concern about failure, Throatshot said. Dead Eagle took away my fear. If I die, then I fail, and the danger comes upon my people. But I shall try to enlist the spirits of the dead to help me, and with their help perhaps I will succeed. And that, my friend, completes the story time for today. Like and subscribe. Donate to my Cash App. Catch me in the next video, and may you find lasting happiness.